Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I'm so glad I finally got the chance to watch Arena. I'm actually dead inside that I actually finished it.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Arena, which released in 1989 or 1991. From writers Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo and directed by Peter Manoogian. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, in the year 4038, 1 year before the Time Guardian would travel back in time to try to stop the evil Jendiki, we have the humans living on a space station in space. We follow Steve Armstrong, played by Paul Satterfield, who, being a human cook, has realised that he's not a very good cook, but he might have a talent for fighting in the arena. The space station itself houses the arena and is run by Mr. Roger, played by Mark Alamo, who, using his champion Horn, hopes to defeat Steve and hold the power over the space station and control all the people aboard.
So as I said, this film actually released in America in 1991, three years after it was finished. And that was because Empire Pictures, Charles Band is a producer, they kind of went bankrupt as this film, and kind of left this film in limbo. And then eventually they merged with Epic Productions, and then eventually also got merged with MGM. This film had a budget of around $2 million.
Ooh.
So it's an incredibly low budget,
Yeah.
but it was one of those really ambitious films I think would have done particularly well if it had released when it was made.
Yeah.
But it having tiny amounts of distribution, like we saw trailers and adverts on VHSs over here, but this film was just never available. Never got to see this. And I have a feeling that if I'd seen this film as a child, I would have loved it.
Yeah. I saw the trailer a lot. You know, in the front of VHS tapes I'd rented, it was always talking about Arena, you know, this one human being who is going to fight his way to the top of the championship because, you know, no human has won in this arena fighting for like 50 years. And so Steve, played by Paul Satterfield, he's our last chance or whatever. And I'd seen the poster a couple of times in my local VHS store. And I was just like, oh my God, that looks exciting. But as I said to Gary before we turned the camera on, the films that this trailer was on before was always the better films. You know, your Predator 2, your RoboCop 2, your Terminator. There wasn't many people who actually went, ooh, Arena's great. And yet part of me, ever since a little kid, ever since I saw those trailers, was like, I gotta see Arena because the fucking trailer made it look exciting.
Yeah, I know.
You know, the practical effects, the makeups, you know, some of the special effects, it all looks so good. What went wrong?
Well, I mean, I always lower my expectations when I'm watching a Charles Band production. This is the team that would go and form Full Moon Pictures.
Oh, God.
And, you know, the Trancers movies and the Dollhouse movies. And...
Didn't they do that fucking weird vampire one where he breaks his fingers?
Yeah. So they specialize in making low-budget schlock.
Yes.
But, you know, they're ambitious and they do try. And sometimes they end up hiring some really good effects artists.
They do, yeah.
Like the guy involved in this one, talked about him many times before, it's John Beekler. And his artistry is massively on show here.
Yeah.
So that is like the thing that I always look for in a Charles Band film.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's got something in there, but just not enough. And it's like the opening for the movie, you know, where we're watching these really terribly composited spaceships fly through space, and we're hearing this really terrible audio as well about. And we're assuming that the pilots or people on the spaceships are watching the battles at the arena on the space station. And so then when you get to the space station, you have the 6-time champion Horn fighting Spinner. Now, before we go too far, I really felt for Spinner.
It looked like a well beaten up TikTok from Return to Oz.
He did. Like, can tell it's a guy in this weird reptile suit with like a cyborg body, and he's got spinning arms. And
spinning, more like flailing.
Flailing,
and
yeah.
He's got these little thumpers on the front.
Yeah, that's it. And he cannot fight. No. Like, it's terrible to watch. But there was every now and again, the camera would cut, and you would catch like the glint from like the prosthetic fucking spinner eye or whatever, and he's like, let me fight, like he wants to die in the arena, and Horn's just beating the shit out of him. But it turns out, like, I thought this was like a really cool effect. Like, when the fighters are in the arena, they have these weird laser color things that go over them. One's red and one's blue. And what happens is there's a device above the arena that balances their power.
It's a handicapper.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that too. At first I was skeptical, but they're like, this is how it works. If this fighter has got all of these extra attributes, we lower them down so that they're equal to the fighting level of their opponent.
Yeah.
So no matter what alien species is fighting, they're going to be kind of equal.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of interesting.
That's cool.
I like that.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, there's a lot of sci-fi elements in this film that work, but they were just kind of shoehorned in there just to kind of, oh, well, we need to keep the pacing going. We need to keep the story going. We also have Claudia Christian playing Quinn, and she is, at this point, the manager for Spinner, and another guy that we will meet briefly called Fang. And she's hoping to get these fighters to the top to fight Horn, to defeat him, so that she can obviously be the manager of the new champion. Because we have Mark Alamo, who plays Mr. Roger, and he's got Armin Shimmerman playing Weasel. Both actors from DS9, both great sci-fi actors, you know, but Mr. Roger at least controls the fighting aspect. You know, Horn is his champion, and he's going to do everything he can to keep Horn at that level so that he can, you know, control the arena and control the space station. And then you've got Steve.
Steve Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he's working in the kitchen.
Yes, with Shorty.
Who's got 4 arms.
Yeah. Hamilton Camp, who he was quite cool. You know, he's like the old man coach character, you know, and they're running this kitchen, and Steve just can't keep up with all the orders. You know, he keeps messing it all up, and you've got these 2 fishmen who are kind of, I mean, it's 4038, you know, I'm sure I can call them fishmen. I don't think there's any kind of, you know, issues with that. They're weird alien people. But they're annoyed because they've missed the fight because they were waiting for their food and it took too long. So then this other big guy comes along and he starts to fight Steve. And Steve beats the crap out of him. Well, it turns out that this guy is Fang, who works for Quinn. You know, and now he's just been beaten up. So Quinn doesn't have another fighter to go up against Horn. Oh, well, I wonder how this story is going to play out.
Right. But now Steve and Shorty have both been fired from their job.
Yes, for fighting.
And so they both leave immediately as well. They're just walking away with everybody else.
Yeah.
And I did like it as they go back to his place and he can't get in, can he? And I love that the little computer like gives him some sass.
Yeah.
Like, I already told you, you've been denied.
Yeah,
it's like, oh wow. And he gets his thing broken, and so Shorty's like, it's fine, you can come and stay with me for a couple of days. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and he takes him to this like secret like entrance and this crazy stairway that goes into a basement, and you really get this ominous feeling like, really? Is he going to kill me?
Right.
And then Shorty shows him like this whole fucking new living area that people are living in.
It's like the spaceship slum.
Yeah, well, they look pretty good.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Then I'll pay you back by helping you get
Invalid
there.
entry. Please check with a crypt tender.
What now? What's wrong?
I said invalid entry.
But also Shorty's got this guy called Skull who's living or broken into Shorty's area and is trying to break into stuff. I thought that was cool effect. The guy's head being all big and stuff, and he's kind of a whiz with technical shit.
Yeah.
But Steve's basic story is that he just wants to get back to Earth. And so he's trying to work on the space station to get back to Earth. And he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to fight in the arena because he doesn't feel like he's got the talent or that fighting in the arena is any good.
Now, this is where I started to feel like there was some conflicts within the script where we also then find out that he actually came to this station to join and fight in the arena.
Yeah.
But he was denied.
Yeah.
So now he's just cleaning dishes and now he just wants to go back to Earth and no longer wants to be a fighter.
Yeah.
And so when Quinn approaches him later and says, hey, we want you to be in the arena as a fighter, and he's like, nah, I wanted to, but no, not anymore. And it's like, well, that's a really awkward, like, I mean, he's supposed to be the reluctant hero, like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, what? So what do you actually want?
Yeah, what do you want? And who's the bad guy in all of this? Because other than seeing Horn at the beginning and maybe in the later fights, there's no build-up for his character. He looks cool. He's a weird alien cyborg thing with horns.
He just walks around going, I am the champion.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And like we said, we got Mr. Roger and Weasel walking around, and you're like, oh, are they the bad guys? But they don't really do anything bad until the later fights.
Yeah.
Which you're then like, oh, well, that was a waste of time.
To the music in honor of your last night on the Star Station.
So Shorty's like, hey, don't worry, Steve. We're just gonna go to the casino. We'll win some money that way.
Yeah.
And in the first hand, he's like, all in. But then he's told not to, and he loses that.
He loses it,
and then he
yeah.
loses the other half right afterwards anyway. And then there is some commotion. There's a shootout. There's fights happening.
Well, the police turn up.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Raid the gambling den, and while the police are shooting and arresting and taking everybody down, Shorty follows Weasel, or one of Weasel's workmen, and steals the money that they had obviously built up in the gambling den. So then Weasel runs back to Mr. Roger and tells him this, and so then Shorty uses this money to buy Steve his ticket. You know, Steve had protected Shorty at the restaurant from being beaten up, so now Shorty's paid it back. Was it because he's a Nebulon or something?
Yeah.
And so now Steve has his ticket and can go home. But Mr. Roger turns up, grabs hold of Shorty, and because Shorty's got 4 arms, they're like, right, we're going to cut off all of your fingers until you give us our money back.
For every hour you're not back with the money.
Yeah. So then Steve then has to go to Quinn and go, hey, Quinn, you know how I told you I didn't want to fight? Well, guess what? I want to fight. And Quinn gives him the money, which he then takes back to Mr. Roger and says, here's the money to pay back the debt. I'm now going to go in the fighting ring and fight your guys.
Oh, so we're only going to get back to the arena. Well, it's been a minute. I was like,
Yeah, like, I totally forgot what this movie was called.
right. And I will say this for me is the real highlight of the film, where we do have Steve Armstrong versus the Sloth monster.
Yeah.
And this thing is gigantic, really.
Yeah, it's got some really huge legs though, hasn't it? And I gotta give it to the puppeteers, the practical effect guys. When they're only brief, but when you had the shot where you saw the back of Steve, but you saw the creature, and the creature's trying to swing at the monster. Like I said, I really felt, again, the eyes were making me believe that this thing was showing emotion.
It had some good articulation in its movement. Yeah.
And it was trying to put up a big fight. But it can't move very far, so it's got to wait for Steve to get up close. Steve can't really do much either. He's got to get up close, and when he does get up close, he gets pounded a bit, and that's to fucking fall back.
And that is my problem with the fight choreography in this film, is that they don't have any.
No.
And so they just look like they're just wailing and flailing around, and the actor is trying not to damage the puppet. And so it looks like he's holding all of his punches back, and then he ends up just rolling around trying to avoid being stomped on. I was like, this is a really dreadful fight. It looks like they just improvised this on the spot.
Yeah.
But they did manage to capture a couple of cool shots and angles that really made this puppet feel threatening.
Yeah.
At the same time as being absolutely useless.
I gotta give it to the film. Like, sometimes I'll watch a fight sequence and go, my God, that was a terrible fight sequence. Then you watch a worse one and you go, actually, the one I was just watching wasn't that bad. So kudos to Arena for allowing me to see that. Like Gary said, if we'd watched it when we were kids, nostalgia glasses or whatnot, we'd have been like, oh my God, this movie's so amazing. I remember feeling it was so big. But we're fucking 40 plus. We've seen like CGI ninjas and lightsabers flying all over the place. I've seen the Hulk punch a fucking flying thing in the face and watch it backflip. Arena is not that.
No.
We've also got Shari Shattuck, who plays Jade. And Jade is a mysterious, beautiful woman that Steve meets at one point.
At the casino
At
early.
the casino
Yeah.
and falls for her. And then they're at the bar and they play some music and she's singing on it. And it is fucking terrible. Like, I don't know if the movie intentionally made it bad or it's just how it came out in the editing. They were like, we haven't got anything to change it. But I was just like, you know, Steve's like, oh my God, who is she? And I'm like, bad at singing. That's what she is. Don't fucking listen to this shit.
But she's tonight's entertainment.
Oh! But she's also working for Mr. Roger. And you get this kind of thing building up. It's not very good. Either I forgot about it or nothing really happened to make it stand out. But you've got like the relationship between Quinn and Steve, which is always back and forth because she wants him to be a great fighter and he just wants to do well. But in a way, you're going to see love flourish. But he secretly fancies Jade, and you know that Jade is evil, so she's going to do something.
But she's also like, maybe being evil is wrong, and maybe I should now give up my evil ways and go with Steve.
But who is the villain? It's not Horn. We haven't fucking seen him for 30 minutes.
Well, it's clearly Golda Cat.
Yeah, it's got to be Golda Cat, definitely.
But then I was at this point in the film, I was like, you know what? This film is failing me right now because in a film like this, you've got to have a montage.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, we get a little montage of Steve winning his rounds and fighting random aliens, but it was over way too quick.
I was going to say, because like I said, I must have dozed off or must have been looking at my notepad. I only remember the fight with Sloth and the fight with Horn and the fight with Spinner at the beginning. I didn't remember seeing any real montage that made me go, oh, I wish I'd seen that alien.
Yeah.
Or that alien, you know?
And that's the thing, because there's a couple of dialogue bits before the montage where you get the feeling that Steve's now had multiple fights in the arena.
Yeah.
And then there's a line where he says, well, I've only had my one fight. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I felt like there was scenes missing from the film.
Like, can we miss something?
Yeah. So then we get that montage, and this is me where the pacing just drops right out of the film after that montage.
Yeah.
And it's all to do with the lovey-dovey stuff. It's the seduction of Steve, I suppose, by Jade, who ends up inviting him back to her place.
Yeah.
And she drugs him.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so the following morning, he's all dopey and he can't stand and he's wobbling around.
And he's got to go to the fight.
And it's now the championship fight as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. And so he stumbles in there and the doctors are called and luckily they get a fucking vaccine into him,
Right.
which kind of counteracts all of Golda Cat's plans. So I'm like, well, that was shit. And then Steve gets into the fight and he starts fighting against Horn, but he starts to actually do very well. He can actually hold his own. And so Roger says to Weasel, right, I need you to climb up into the rafters and I need you to break into the machine that will obviously set the fight talents for them both. And we need to make it so that Steve loses. So Weasel gets Skull, who we'd met earlier on in the movie, to hack into the machine, and that starts to make Horn really strong and Steve like really weak. And you know, he even stands there and he's just like, they take him to the corner and they're like, what's going on? And he's like, I don't know, I just feel like I've got no energy and
Got no strength.
Oh, I just don't know what's going on. And yet he's still able to stand there and take blow after blow from Horn. And so even though this is the part of the movie where you're supposed to be like willing on the hero, like get up, I was actually like, just die, Steve.
For heck,
Just die. I want Horn to keep on winning.
this is supposed to be the underdog story
Yeah.
where the human is the underdog against all these aliens.
Yeah, no.
And we're supposed to believe that he's never really got a chance because there hasn't been a human champion in over 50 years.
Yeah.
He even had a moment where when he was down in the slum area and there was a human that was just like, here, there's this medallion. I was that champion 50 years ago and now it's your time. And they all raise him up and chant his name. It's like, oh.
Yeah, wow.
So like he's almost been given it on a on a platter, and so like what underdog story? He was already kicking ass from the get-go. Like none of his opponents have been really threatening.
No. And like even this bit, it's like Shorty notices there must be something wrong with the machine, and so he climbs all the way up to the top and confronts Weasel, and they have their little fight, and he causes a short circuit back onto Skull, which kills Skull off.
Yeah, the back of his head explodes.
Yeah.
And then Weasel gets thrown over the balcony.
Yeah, that's it. And Weasel just throws on the floor and fucking dies. And Steve manages to bring himself back up, and the handicap machine's kind of damaged, and he defeats Horn.
And becomes the new arena champion.
And it's not even like he defeats Horn very well, he just beats him up.
Yeah.
It's not like he knocks his head off or rips his heart out or does anything. He just,
Yeah. And it's not like you hate Horn or anything. You're just like, okay.
I half expected Horn to come up at the end because that's how the film felt. I felt like Horn was going to come up at the end and go, "Hey, Steve, you're okay by me." Because that's how I thought it was going to go. But he never turned up again.
It is a PG movie, so it's almost like child friendly. You might think it have a message like that.
But no.
But no, the final message of the film is now Jade going, "You know what, Golden Cat, you're the bad man, and I'm leaving you now."
Yeah.
And she wanders down to go and see Steve, like to go, "I'm sorry, I made this mistake."
Yeah.
And Quinn's just like, "Nah, bitch."
Yeah, punches her
out.
face. And Steve and Quinn and Shorty and all of our coaches, they walk off because they're now the new champs of the arena. Yay!
Yay!
Yay.
Yeah.
It's all right, mate. A year from that point, they'll go back in time because of the Time Guardians.
Oh, right. So none of this will actually happen.
None of this.
Well, Ian, what were your favourite things that did happen in the film?
I did not have many. I have to admit, this movie dragged on. It really felt like 3 hours, and it was only, an hour and 27 minutes?
Hour 37.
So fucking, yeah. The horrible hollow music. I could not believe that this sequence happened. You have Shorty and Steve sat at a bar. Shorty's going to go off and get the ticket for Steve, and they turn on some music, and this little hologram of Jade appears, and she starts singing, and it is fucking awful. Like, fuck, I almost just turned the movie off. Like, is there something wrong with the movie? That's how it sounds. I've got to give it to the Sloth fight sequence. The puppet makers did a great job with him, especially when you get the wide shot and you've got the actor who plays Steve in front of it, and then you've got Sloth there with his big arms and his big body and his huge legs, but you know he can't move very well. And I generally felt bad for the guy, actually, the alien, because I'm just like, he's been dragged on here, he's going to get beaten up. You know, let him go back to his own family, give him some money, I don't know. I did kind of think that the commentator cutbacks were quite funny. You know, you'd have a little bit of a fight, and then you'd cut to this old man sat in front of the screen kind of giving us all the information about the fighters, and then they'd cut back to the fight, and then it would cut back to him. They should have made him like a main character. He should have been like on the screen at the beginning, you know, talking about the arena, talking about the history, and then the film should have flowed, and then as a joke every now and again bring him back in. At least that would have helped keep the pacing, that you're following the fighting in the arena, not Steve the chef and his backstory and what he's going to do with his life. That's it.
Oh, wow, yeah. Not many at all.
No.
I'm just going to repeat that, basically.
Okay, yeah.
The sloth monster fight. It was fantastic to look at that creature. I loved all of the details in its skin, the way that its eyes and mouth moved. I was like, that's really impressive. That's a real feat. Yeah, again, considering the very small budget.
The same with Horn as well. Horn looked great. The cybernetic and fleshy stuff looked cool from afar, but you wanted to see more of him.
I wanted some character from Horn, as he was the reigning champion.
I am Horn. I am champion!
But then there was another alien that I really liked, and that's sort of not the locker room, but the training or the sparring area. And he's got against this giant lizard thing.
Oh, yeah, and they're fighting. And when he finishes fighting, they're like, "Hey, do you want to go and get some news?" He's like, "Yeah, kid's going to be really good." I was like, that guy sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Let's follow him.
Why didn't we get to see him in the arena fighting?
Like, he seems so nice.
Yeah. I guess pretty much any of the scenes with Mark Alamo and Armin Shimmerman.
Yes.
Being, as you said, a fan of Deep Space Nine, seeing them two, and the fact that they have screen time together, it's just kind of like, I'm enjoying that.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying that. And the other thing I have to say, I really liked even though you critiqued them at the beginning, I liked seeing these spaceships flying around. I liked the Arena space station.
Yeah.
I liked the technology that they were using. I liked the handicapper device. I really liked some of the set design. I thought, like, again, considering the limitations, I was like, they've got more corridors in the ship than I expected them to have.
Yes, yeah.
So I kind of like some of that stuff. One of the things, though, that I really did not like, and that is the costumes. They will make your eyes bleed.
Yeah, they will.
Because, I mean, it looks like at some points that Steve's wearing a nappy. You know? It looks like he's just wearing some loose fabrics, and they're just... all of the design choices for the costumes were atrocious.
Yeah.
This is just... like, and not in any future of humankind can I envision anyone wearing stuff like that.
Zardos.
Yeah.
The red pants with Sean Connery.
Man, like, you know, back in the day, they had some weird ideas about what we'd be wearing in the
going to
future.
be naked in the future.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the costume choices throughout the film are really questionable. A real eyesore.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's no, like, moment of acting or one
No.
major scene that really stands out that makes you go, oh, that was super memorable. But, again, there was no scenes that were really awful.
No.
Just some slow-paced moments
Yeah.
and some lackluster acting at times. But, Iain, do you recommend Arena?
I don't recommend Arena, but if you are a fan of old school sci-fi like Babylon 5 and Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers and 20th Century, you know, you'll probably enjoy this. You know, it's got some cool elements with the puppetry and the sci-fi stuff, but ultimately the acting is terrible and the pacing is terrible, and so just to sit there through it feels like a chore. You know, you could probably just look at some clips on YouTube or from our review and be like, oh cool, that looked cool. I'd even go as far to say a remake could really help this film. Maybe even not a big one, maybe just a Netflix one. You know, an 8-episode first season. See if you can get it going where a human being, male or female, don't care, fights against weird aliens in a arena, you know, and you got the weird, you know, evil elements in the background trying to hold the conglomeration together and take control of the arena. Don't care. I want to see a human fight some weird aliens and arms get ripped off.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No.
No.
I can't recommend Arena. As this was only just about watchable, with some awful looking fight scenes, cliched stories and cartoon villains, it's cheesy as hell. Paul Satterfield, as Steve Armstrong, lacked the leading man charm and charisma to make this work, and his fight technique was unconvincing and silly looking. I did, though, really enjoy the craftsmanship of the alien makeup and effects. They were outstanding considering the minuscule budget, but the film really disappoints with very few actual alien versus alien arena action. The humor in the film, it mostly falls flat, as does the pace by the midsection, and you'll just be waiting for this to end. As a fan of Deep Space Nine, it was great to see Armin and Alamo on screen together, having fun with the villainous roles, and it almost makes this worth a watch, as it's still sometimes entertaining in parts, with some pretty fun side characters. For 1,000 years, no human has been champion. He wants to be the first. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.